with me today.
You're welcome, Marilyn. We're happy to be with you today. How do you feel right now, wherever you are now? What is your life like now without human form, Marilyn?
I'm floating. I have balance, peace, and joy. And no constraints to that which I am. I am more at peace now than I ever was when I had a body. Part of that is from walking through the destiny, the karma that was set for me to satisfy.
What was your karma?
When I last... I'm sorry?
What was your karma, Marilyn?
It was about, how do I... It was to experience the judgment and defining, understanding how perceptions can be so different from what one's intentions were. The life I had before this last one, I was judge, jury, executioner in Salem. I condemned others, persecuted, and destroyed them for being different.
Wow. Quite a change from the next life as Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, but very enlightening to live both extremes.
Tell us about them.
The similarities are that as a man in Salem condemning women for being witches and having them humiliated publicly, destroyed publicly, created for me as a man, an air of entitlement. And there was such heaviness in that being, although I would not have known it being in that body at that time. Looking at it now from where I am, I can see that it was directly entwined with the life that I lived as Marilyn Monroe. I provoked and spoke in there's a dissatisfaction with my answers. Because if I could keep them from knowing exactly who I was, the joke was on them.
Wow, fascinating. So it was a type of control.
Yes.
So in both lifetimes, as the persecutor, you were controlling and condemning others. And even though you were appearing to be very lighthearted as Marilyn Monroe, you were also still playing with that energy of control.
Yes, exactly.
So what is it exactly that you were learning in both of those lifetimes?
I learned my perception now is different than it was when I had a body.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand now that what I failed, what I learned, what I can tell you from this point now that I learned is that knowledge of self, knowledge of my essence, of my needs, my wants, are the most powerful weapons in the world. Weapons is not the right word, but it is powerful to know that all is connected. Every thought that I had, that everyone has, is all connected. And we light the heavens with those thoughts and desires. Does this answer your question?
So what is it that you were learning in those lifetimes?
I was learning about the different forms of control and how they manifest themselves in the destiny of each lifetime.
Is it kind of like...
How they affect... sorry?
Go ahead.
The Salem trials, what I learned is that the judgment that I had for others in the end was reflected back at me. I died lonely, disenfranchised with life, and totally destitute, with no power.
So
I took my own life.
You took your own life?
I did. So all that which I put forth during that lifetime was reflected back at me. I learned that in each of these lifetimes, that to be alone and isolated is not the natural way
Yes, maybe you thought that through your control that you would somehow feel good or have more power,
Yes.
but control of others doesn't bring that. And I think before you were talking about being really careful about what you desire and knowing what your desires are, and when you know your own desires and you're true to them, that's the most empowering thing.
Yes.
Is the being true to your own desires. I can see how you would not get close to people in your lifetime as Marilyn Monroe, that you would entice people, that you would throw your skirt up at them and then smile and giggle and walk away and leave them hanging and leave them wanting more. So
it was a fantastic joke, wasn't
it? Fantastic. You were very good at what you did. You were very good at what you did, and it must have kept you safe to a certain extent. And you must have, been afraid to be loved and to be close to people. And I know that your childhood probably had a lot to do with that. As being in a foster home, and perhaps not having a typical child's life with love from one or two parents. So I'm sure all that fostered those kind of feelings of wanting to be in control and wanting to be in control of your heart.
It is where I learned how to act, how to become an actress, how to assume roles, how to be acceptable to others, and to hide who I was.
Yes.
My heart was it's like a small child locked in a closet, afraid to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where it stayed my whole life as Marilyn Monroe.
Your heart was owned by others.
It was locked away.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't let anybody else near it, not even myself.
That's right. That's right. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to allow this channel some rest now and some gold light. And such a pleasure speaking with you, Marilyn, through this wonderful channel. And let's allow the next channel to allow you to speak.
Hi, I am still here, and I am glad to be here.
Thank you. Welcome, Marilyn. What else, as a famous star, is there anything that you'd like to share with us about what you've learned from your experiences in these two past lives that you've been talking about? Is there any message for your greater audience now coming from a place of your heart that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I have more to say. I wanted to say that I was a great champion of girl power before it was popular. And I felt really misunderstood on that. I had a lot of power through my beauty and my sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a goddess. I purposely chose that image. And I wanted to show the world that women were powerful and were valued. It didn't have to just be men.
With the power.
Yes, running things. And so I had a certain power. And I did it through sexuality, which was very brave. I didn't think the world was ready for me. And it was really fun at first. And it did help me feel adored and loved because there was a hunger in my heart for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got the attention I had been wanting when I was really little,
Mm-hmm.
when I was bigger. But I became trapped in the image. And I didn't have the knowing to how to go deeper and to be my true self.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to feel alone and lonely and isolated because I started to feel only valued for my looks and not for who I was. And I lost sight of who I was inside.
Mm-hmm.
I felt lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I want the world to know that women are glorious. And I chose to be a woman on purpose. I wanted the world to know that women deserve to be adored and to be powerful. And I want that to be a message that's not forgotten. And that women can have full sexuality. Mine was equal to a man's. That didn't sit well with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But the men who had lots of sexual energy of their own appreciated it.
Mm-hmm. Marilyn, what you're saying is really deeply moving to me, and I so appreciate what you're sharing. It is such an important thing to remember that women are goddesses and that their sexuality can be equal to men and that they can be extremely powerful. And hopefully they can be that and be themselves at the same time and do things that feel safe to them. What would you say for the women that must have been terribly jealous of you during your lifetime?
I would say to them that they were locked in a cage of restraint
Mm-hmm.
and self-judgment that kept them from being like me. All they had to do was put on a dancing skirt and some shoes and rev it up a little. And they, too, could be Marilyn Monroe. And it was a matter of energy and spirit.
Yes. How would you suggest that women take their first steps for some towards owning their own power and owning their sexuality in a way that feels really congruent and safe? Is there any suggestion for what women can do or how they can feel?
Now, from this place where I learned many hard lessons about that, I would say that it's so important for women to gather together and to recognize their type of power, and that it doesn't come only from the admiration of men,
Mm-hmm.
that it comes from their own shining self, and to tune into the fun and sexuality of life, but to do it in a way that honors who they really are. And women need other women to reconnect with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, what a great answer. What a great way to start, by reconnecting with other women, in this pool of women where you feel safe, where you can be fun, and then to take that essence of what you build with your women friends out to the world of men or one man or whatever it is, in a way that comes from the inside out with this sheer confidence, glowing and radiant from the inside, shining outward. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for coming today. And is there anything else before we say goodbye to you that you'd like to share?
Thank you so much for listening, because I always wanted my true message and my true lessons to be helpful to the world.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. It really helps to talk to you because, when I think about you, I think, what was she on about? What was she doing? What were her intentions? And now I feel that I really understand where you were coming from and what you were learning, sometimes in the hard knocks fashion, and what your message is to the world. And it's such a powerful message, Marilyn. So you go, girl. Keep going, and we look forward to having you on Earth again if you ever decide to come back. Until then, many blessings.